There's very little to like and nothing at all to admire about Neddy Smith. Yet the man who was once Australia's most dangerous criminal is about to become something of a celebrity. From his prison cell, Neddy Smith has been giving such detailed information on police involvement in crime that a special inquiry has been launched. The Independent Commission Against Corruption begins those hearings in Sydney tomorrow. And the main matter before them? Smith's allegation that for 15 years a gang of senior detectives and other police helped him commit armed robberies, payroll jobs and jewellery heists. It's shaping up as the biggest inquiry into police corruption this country has seen. And Neddy Smith is the supergrass.
You were described as an active criminal, well known as an assailant. What do you say to that?
What's your definition of an assailant?
Someone who attacks people.
Well, who have attacked them? They've been charged with anyone, and no one can come forward and say I've ever attacked them.
Arthur Stanley Smith, Neddy Smith. On the one hand, a devoted father. On the other, one of the most feared criminals in Australia. When he gave his first ever interview 6 years ago, Smith was at the peak of his career, criminal career.
I wouldn't say that he was the biggest. I'd say he was one of the biggest. But I mean, anybody to get away with things like Ned did over the years that you know now, he had to be up there somewhere.
With police permission?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
1992, and things have changed dramatically for the Smith family. Deborah Smith has been with Ned for almost 20 years. And while she saw a lot, she says she never knew a lot.
How much protection did the police give him?
Now I know, 100% all the way.
You didn't realise at the time?
No, I didn't.
So he was untouchable?
I'd say yes, he was.
As a boy, Smith was in and out of institutions until he graduated to jail. By the mid-70s, Smith says he was recruited by a group of New South Wales detectives. Together, they committed millions of dollars worth of armed robberies. Crime certainly paid.
For 15 years, I lived like a millionaire. I didn't have to wake up in the morning like the public and worry about how to pay me rent, where my next food was coming from, how I was going to clothe my kids or anything. I used to wake up happy for a change.
Smith is the hottest witness in the country, and now he says some police want him dead. So the only way we could interview him was on the telephone from his maximum security prison. Smith has spent the past 2 years telling the New South Wales Independent Commission Against Corruption, the ICAC, how he was given what's called the green light by police. That meant he could commit almost any crime he liked as long as the cops got their cut.
What did the green light allow you to do?
Whatever I wanted to.
Anything at all?
Anything at all.
Murder?
Well, I'm not into murder, but would have if I wanted to, I suppose.
There was nothing that you were not allowed to do.
The only stipulation that was made to me at one stage was that no police were to be shot during robberies.
So is there any money left?
No.
All gone?
All gone.
Shouldn't you have some left?
I guess we should have, but we haven't. It's, court costs. Ned was arrested and had to, I suppose, pay his way to beat charges and things like that. I mean, what money we had, it's gone.
A lot of people would expect that you've been paid for this interview, and you're not.
No.
How widespread do you think it is in New South Wales?
In another telephone conversation, Smith tells us the ICAC inquiry will prove the scale of corruption in New South Wales is huge.
How would this inquiry compare, do you think, to the Fitzgerald inquiry?
Make the Fitzgerald inquiry look like a nun's picnic.
Really? So you've named, 35 policemen altogether?
70.
70 altogether?
Yeah.
There's also talk that there's judges and Crown prosecutors that you've named?
That's right.
How many judges?
3 serving judges.
3 serving judges on the New South Wales courts?
District Court, yeah.
Smith says there was big money in it for everyone. In this reenactment, you'll see how Smith and his corrupt police partners ripped off $1 million shipment from a drug dealer. It was a classic sting. The dealer is told to leave the drugs in the boot and then watch from his own car to make sure the handover to Smith and his accomplice goes smoothly.
Reckon he'll go for it?
Of course he will.
What the dealer sees next is this.
Okay, hold it there, Nettie. Yeah, keep still. Okay, mate. Calm down, keep calm.
What the dealer doesn't see is this. The arrest is a charade. Around the corner, the cuffs come off. Smith and the police are $1 million richer.
You got me worried for a while. You guys did a bloody good job back there.
On your way then?
Okay, well, I'll have your money by next Thursday afternoon, so I'll see you at the usual pub at 5.
Here's your bag, mate.
But the cooperation from police went a lot further.
Now, at one stage you were doing a number of armed robs and actually using New South Wales police badges.
Badges and uniforms, yes, and their guns.
And police guns as well?
That's right.
So the police had no qualms about handing those over to you?
Certain police didn't have qualms about anything.
The reason?
Anything at all?
Smith says he offered a 10% spotter's fee to any police who suggested lucrative robberies.
How did that work?
Well, if I didn't find one, they sometimes wrote security on different payroll deliveries and that. And if they thought it was worthwhile, they'd spot it for me and I'd pay them 10% of what we got.
So you'd pay them off for the armed robberies, jewellery heists, the rip-offs of drug dealers, etc.?
Everything. Pay them as they were done.
Did you see money change hands very much over the years?
I have seen money change hands, but like I say, Ned has always been an SP bookmaker. And if I said to Ned, what's that for? He'd say to me, oh, so-and-so had to settle his bet from the other day. You know, so I mean, Ned did keep me in the dark from a lot of things.
Smith's relationship with police was social as well. There were barbecues almost every weekend, but business was never discussed in front of the wives.
I was introduced to a lot of people. Police, prosecutors, you know, businessmen, their wives. I knew all their wives really well. I sound like I'm an idiot sometimes because people would more likely think, well, how could you go to a barbecue and know that criminals can mix with prosecutors? That was just the way I thought things were.
Yet another underworld figure gunned down by his own kind.
The mid-1980s were the best, then the worst of times for these crooks and cops. An underworld war broke out in Sydney. Daniel Chubb, shot dead in 1984. Michael Sayers, shot dead 3 months later. Heroin dealer Tony Eustace was the next to be gunned down in April 1985.
It's more likely their murders were part of a push by one underworld faction.
They all moved in the same circles as Nettie Smith and the corrupt police.
Can you tell us about who shot Tony Eustace?
Chris Flannery.
Chris Flannery was a notorious hitman who once holidayed with Smith.
Chris Flannery shot Tony Eustace.
That's right.
But they were very good friends, weren't they?
Chris Flannery never had any friends.
Did Tony Eustace think Flannery was his friend?
He thought he was his best friend, yes. He went out to meet him and give him some money the night he shot him. And for all the good he'd done him, he shot him in the back.
5 times in the back, wasn't it?
5 times, that's right.
But Chris Flannery was getting out of control. He made the fatal mistake of falling out with the Crims and the cops.
Now, Chris Flannery made threats against not only the police at one stage, but their wives and children, didn't he?
That's right.
What did that mean for him?
Well, that's why he's not with us no longer.
It was decided he had to go.
That's exactly right.
And he was set up by one of the policemen as well?
They were waiting outside the front of the hotel.
Nettie Smith denies any involvement in these murders, but was convicted of murdering a man in 1989. He's now appealing that in the High Court. Not even the green light could save him. He says by the time he was jailed, police had already tried to have him killed several times because he knew too much. So he turned against them and went to the ICAC on one condition, that his family be placed in witness protection. But that was a joke. 2 of the corrupt cops one day found Deborah Smith and her 11-year-old son waiting for a bus.
And I could see that they were police officers, but not even dreaming that they were coming towards me or Daniel, and was just to tell Ned to shut up.
They said,
yeah.
Tell Ned to shut up.
Mm-hmm. And they knew where to get us.
Smith insisted his family be placed in the hands of federal, not New South Wales police. So their IDs, schools, everything about them changed. But the handful of bent New South Wales cops didn't give up that easily.
I didn't really see the car start to tail us, but I just remember our driver accelerating and telling us to buckle up, and he was doing at least 140 kilometres around the side streets.
Trying to lose the car behind him.
Yep, and then our backup car intercepted that, and they got out and checked it out and said that there were 2 New South Wales police officers that thought we'd stolen the car.
That thought you'd stolen a federal police car, which they could have checked on in about 1 minute.
Yes.
Oh, that's right, because Marianne's taken Ben.
Yeah.
Jamie Smith, Nettie's 16-year-old daughter, wants to be a model. But it's hard when the family is forever on the move.
So she'll be against us in one session.
And when your mum decided to leave witness protection, what was the reaction from the ICAC?
Virtually everything what they did get us, we had to leave behind.
Like what?
Like school uniforms, for instance. They wanted everything. Even Daniel's garters that kept his socks up, they wanted those too.
Nettie Smith hasn't just been talking to the corruption fighters, the ICAC. For the last couple of years, here inside Long Bay Jail, he's been writing this, a 400-page history of his relationships with the police barbecue set. Some of the tales in this are extraordinary and are going to worry a lot of policemen. And guess what he's called it? Thank Christ for corruption.
A lot of people are calling you a dog, an informer. How do you feel about that?
Well, they won't say it to my face. If they do that, I'll soon change their mind, but everyone knows I'm not a dog. If you call giving police up a dog, then I'm a dog. But as for giving crims up, they all know I've never given a crim up. And name one that's ever been arrested or charged over anything I've ever said.
To get labelled a dog is only when you give your mates up, or people you know, you're telling on them. And Ned's not doing that. He's not giving criminals up or mates or people he knows. He's telling on police.
What's the difference, Ned, between naming a criminal and naming police for you?
Well, I suppose the public don't think there's any difference, but it's just the way I was brought up. You look after your own, you don't tell on your own. And I thought that way about the police too, up until they tried to kill me on several occasions, and eventually set me up when they thought I'd run out of usefulness.
Tomorrow, the ICAC's public hearings begin. They will last at least 12 months. Their repercussions will last a lot longer.
What do you see as your future?
I don't have one, Michael.
You don't think you'll ever get out?
I doubt it.
Let me ask you, why should we believe you? I mean, you've been charged as a rapist, drugs, now convicted of murder. Why should we believe you?
I think I'm doing the right thing for the first time in my life. My wife agrees with me, so I care about my wife and kids and what they think. I don't care what anyone else thinks.
What do you think the outcome to the ICAC inquiry will be?
I think people will be very surprised. I mean, I think that that they will realise that their police force is not an honest police force. It is very, very corrupt.
Hello, I'm Sarah Abo. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our Extra Minutes segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.